Hello, welcome back to our Dungeons and Dragons game. We're glad you're here with us. For those of you who may not know, we are the Broken Table, and this game is part of our ongoing campaign. You'll be able to catch us live Mondays at 8:15 Eastern Time on Twitch or anytime on YouTube. I think we have a volunteer, as always, to do the recap. This week it will be Nick.
Yeah. So, after...
Nick, you may want to click on yourself on the Hangouts. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, sure, why not? Because that's what everybody wants to see. Oh, yeah.
I won't see it.
So, after narrowly avoiding any casualties while fighting the Wendigo, what was her name? Ashley Lane?
It was a party
note. Or am I
note.
mixing campaign characters?
It was Ashley March of House Terran.
Ashley March of House Terran. Yeah. We rescued her, learned that she was part of a company traveling, I think, to the gates. But they also ran to the Wendigo, and all of them died except for her. We buried the one that she had killed in self-defense at the bridge. And then we took her back to her company and there to deal with what they had left. And then we had long discussions while on the road about what to name ourselves and all kinds of variants. We crossed a bridge that everybody was just a bit too scared of. And then everybody got all up in Raknul's face for trying to save the day, and that was rude. That was really rude. I don't appreciate I don't appreciate my work being downplayed. And Liam learned how to fish.
Yep.
More like other people caught fish while Liam watched.
Lots of fishing minigames.
He learned through osmosis.
Yep. Liam learned how to fish.
Yeah, I forget how many he caught. He caught a few. But someone else caught
Technically, osmosis is only water. Ian, he learned through diffusion.
That's
true.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Still, while he was learning the blade, I was studying the fishing rod.
Yeah.
I'm glad you added the fishing to that statement.
I'm pretty sure that's all that happened. It wasn't very eventful, but we did some traveling and some exploration.
Flavorful episode.
Did you click on? You might want to disengage camera.
Oh, believe me, I'm tired of staring at my face.
All right.
Boy,
I think that is everything that happened.
Later?
Thanks, Jimmy.
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah.
I think we decided on the Shepherds of Fortune as a name, if I recall.
I believe it was floating out there.
I believe
it was still floating.
Firmly disagreed.
All right.
We are shepherds.
That's the last thing we
I see what
discussed.
you did there,
I don't
Will.
think we decided on it.
Still
You did it pretty early to slip one past me.
We decided on shepherds of adjective, and we kind of left it there.
Ooh. What if that's it? Just shepherds of adjective.
Oh my god.
It's
if we are
open.
going to create a town named Adjective, sure.
We'll say that this
It's
conversation takes
open.
place over breakfast.
It leaves room. It leaves room for growth. You know? Someone goes, shepherds of adjective. What's the adjective? We go, that's where you come in.
Oh boy.
Bam. That's our sales pitch right there. It's the fucking best one we've got.
I mean, also, if we're choosing to if we have to choose to join I don't entirely understand the names of things, but we have to choose to join a larger guild.
Yes.
I think, as a party.
Discourse. Shepherds of discourse.
So we could be the shepherds of whatever our guild is.
We can discuss this either on break or...
Let's adventure.
We'll say that you discussed it over breakfast, as you just have, and that's about where you guys have the discussion when it's tabled for your journey ahead. Chapter 8.
Right.
The Gate of Kultainen divides the broad river vale from the Vale of Verdun. It has stood since the days of Ulrich the Kind. And in those times, it had been a grand symbol of peace and accomplishment. But in other times, it was a symbol of war and fear. In these days, it is little more than a ruin, a vestige of the mighty kingdoms of elf and dwarf that have faded from these lands. The gate is in truth a grand series of dwarven bridges that stretch over the last of the stone-peaked Quaddle Mountains as they meet the towering icy peaks of the Empyrean. The cities that once were connected by these bridges are sealed with molten stone and lie silent. In the time of the Umastet orcs, elves had fled to this forgotten place and reinforced it as a wall against the horde. The spears and the machines of these orcs still sit buried in the slopes below the gate, and you pass them along your way. Now, as this symbol of ages looms over the winding path before you, new banners hang from the battlements. Not of dwarf, orc, or elf, but of man, Valindia. 6 times your trail switchbacks across the face of the mountains as the hours go by. Ever the gate seems within reach but above you, and yet never it appears closer. It is on the final pass as the sun has passed noon by about an hour, and the wind sweeps over you ceaselessly, that you come, finally, upon the landing. From here, it does not look like a gate or a bridge. It seems like a wall, hewn of stone and dusted with snow, standing 50 meters tall and 2 kilometers wide, from Mount Kultainen to the west and the frozen stone of Mount Ostben to the east. In the center of this span, a single carved arch rises, and within that lies a 30-foot gate, dwarfed by the size of the wall, but still itself quite large. You soon find yourselves entering eyesight of several, we'll say, posted guards that stand around it. But other than that, there's no sign of any life, save perhaps a few wisps of smoke going into the sky. You were saying
so,
so.
Chris, before we had gotten to the gates,
Mm-hmm.
I would have pulled probably Seris off to the side and told her, look, you know how we were meant to be subtle, discreet in this delivery, yeah?
Discretion is the name of the game, as always.
Right. Well, when we get up to the gates, I have a little trick that I just learned. I don't want to tell anybody that we're overtly just delivering the message. I want to give them a false idea. And I'll pull out my dagger, and I will cast Nistul's magic aura on it to make it seem as if it is an enchanted dagger with an abjuration effect on it.
And what part of this is working into your plan? What is discreet about it?
We are delivering a enchanted weapon to the recipient of the sigil that was given to us. So whoever seals on that, we just say we're delivering this dagger. Now
Can you put that spell in chat, by the way?
Oh, sure.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm coughing so much tonight.
Chris, what would Seris know about the frequency of magic daggers and items being in the world and the military's use of them?
They're pretty frequent when it comes to lower level stuff. They're actually, I would say, more frequent than like an arcane caster is to have an arcane artifact. The majority of those who practice the arcane in the Broad River Vale and really the World Coast at large practice enchantment, which is the instilling of magic into an object. And they themselves are only able to harness small amounts of magic at a time, or use formulas or like very specific rituals in order to accomplish these tasks, but are able to make artifacts that are able to cast spell-like effects. So minor enchantments are relatively common. It wouldn't be unheard of. Anything stronger would be very surprising. but it would be the sort of thing that one would receive as a pretty hefty gift. But not like every soldier on the line is going to have a sword. In fact, probably 1 in 100, but maybe 1 in 50. But officers certainly would probably have something enchanted lying about.
So the plan is, meta. This is Will saying the plan is to tell the people at the gate we have a dagger for the prince.
So Morgan wasn't there for that conversation.
Prince.
Yeah, we have a magic dagger that, if used detect magic upon, because I do know how detect magic works, it would show that it has an abjuration effect, which is a defensive effect. So, and since Morgan doesn't know who the recipient is, because y'all never told him. So,
This is accurate. Yeah.
Now, is it my turn to metagame?
Yeah, metagame.
I will say, you don't necessarily need to metagame. You guys are on the slopes of this mountain in
He
a very
specifically
barren,
mentioned.
lonely
He
place.
specifically is speaking to Seris.
Okay.
Say that,
Because
He-
Glyph of
he's-
Warding is an abjuration spell, and those explode.
yeah, so he has pulled
Sometimes.
Seris aside, but is still standing in like the middle of like an empty cliffside with you guys.
Before my metagame is done, everyone, I thank you for joining us for episode 9, not episode 8.
Oh, did I call it episode 8?
You did.
Oh, boy.
You did, yeah.
We're just
Oh, man.
guys. Sorry.
Oh, the game's ruined, boys. Pack it up. Go home. It's
Yeah.
over.
Oh,
Had a good run.
No.
So going back to our
If only there was some way
conversation,
for me to fuddle the audio there so you can't hear it.
that seems like it might work, though I don't think that
it seems completely unnecessary.
we.
That's what it seems like.
Yes,
Seems like we were given instructions to carry a message to a particular location,
I imagine that messages
and that was it.
in and out of military encampments quite frequently, and there's
All I'm
no
saying
need.
is, well, yes, but all I'm saying is that if the message is what's important, I think it might be a little prudent to have a sort of scapegoat, or a false one, a decoy.
And you want that to be a dagger.
If they gave us message, I can't imagine that it's that important.
Probably not, but we don't even know who it's going to.
I believe the specific instructions were to bring it to the location, and there were no other specific details given. So I'd imagine how we deliver it is inconsequential.
Actually, yeah, Liam brings up some good points on that one.
I don't see
mean,
any
like-
problem with just delivering it as is.
What?
Look, I already spent
What
the
was the
spell
message
slot.
again?
Well, that seems like your mistake.
It seems
I
like
mean-
a personal problem, Morgan.
To be fair, I hope
Yeah, Morgan, I love you, but
that the one expenditure of magic shouldn't be too costly. Hopefully.
Hopefully not.
Knocks on his staff.
Well, for the next 24 hours, we have a completely mundane dagger that looks like it's enchanted with an abjuration effect. Yay.
That's not nothing.
and I will do my best to figure out how to use that, but I don't think this is it.
We could use it to open the letter.
Yeah, but we're not supposed to open
Or not, because we're not supposed to open the letter.
Well, I mean, we could give it to the person to... you know what? Forget it. Let's just keep walking.
So
All right,
not-
I feel like we avoided...
It's okay, Morgan. Some people just have off days.
Liam, I was really worried about this, but Liam brings up a good point. We might be overthinking this. Because if we were going to give this letter and they're going to freak out that we're, hand in a letter to the prince, then there would have been some level of warning. Be like, oh, by the way, you need to be discreet or something.
But they
if you
might
just gave us the letter and was like, present the symbol.
But could you imagine if they're going to freak out if we're handing a letter to the prince, how much they'd freak out if we handed a dagger to the prince? Or if we said, hey, we're here to deliver a dagger to the prince?
Have you guys never worked
Especially if
around
they're
magic
all
before?
especially because
No. As a matter of fact,
Like,
also
it's pretty rare.
think
we put
of
magic
how it
in
would go
bullshit
if
all the time. I met a guy who made magic bullshit out of gears and wires. I don't even know how that works.
I'm very curious.
I believe you're preaching to the choir.
Very odd.
I actually got a reference book off of him if you're interested in reading.
I very much am. Thank you.
I take out my reference book that I took from Clarence and I give it to
It's just a calculus textbook.
That works then.
pretty much.
He thinks it's all code.
There's some things about heat transference, but that's about it.
Anyway, pressing on.
I stand by it was a good
But
idea.
yeah, no, especially if they're already expecting a letter, and all of a sudden we were like, oh, we have a dagger, and they're expecting it to be a letter. That creates its own set of issues.
Well, I mean, we could do both. We could just say we have a dagger. We have a delivery for the prince. It's this and a letter.
Then why don't we just deliver the letter? Why do we need the dagger?
Involved
This just
in
seems like it's
conversation with at the tavern. I think it was a couple of you had a conversation about this prior. I will not reiterate the conversation, but I will remind you a conversation did occur.
I mean, yeah, that's how we learned it was the seal of the prince.
It is a bit odd that we're delivering it and not it. You know, it's not going through like the royal messengers. But like, seeing as that's odd enough, I don't see why we should complicate things with adding a dagger into the mix. Especially because I feel like us not being official royal messengers is going to put them on guard. You know, enough as it is.
Well, we're not official anything.
We're
I think
not official anything.
I think we've reached a consensus here.
No, like I agreed with you. You've sold me on it. I'm disappointed. And Morgan just sort of sadly holds up his dagger.
So the casual shepherds, the unofficial shepherds.
Riona's just gonna reach over and just like pat Morgan on the shoulder and just, sorry, buddy. Maybe next time. We'll try to use this idea another time.
My god just gave me this spell too. I was really proud that I thought of this.
It's a really cool spell.
I mean, I could make Liam look evil if that's cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really fun idea. He would hate it.
That sounds like a particularly bad idea. But we're not going to dive into why.
Maybe do it after we try to meet with the prince, though.
Sure.
Oh yeah, for shits and giggles.
Like a demon.
Well, I can't make him a demon, but I can make him like register as being evil.
Maybe after we try to meet with the prince.
All right,
Sounds like
all right, Morgan, and what good would that do?
I mean, it wouldn't do any good, but I wonder how it would feel. I mean,
again, sounds like a really fun prank.
So moving on. We approach the gate.
All right, as you
Yes,
kind of break
please.
from the cliff line, there are no trees at this height, and it's just kind of an open field. There are no structures or buildings. There is just, we'll say, 4 men that are standing before this gate at the moment. It doesn't appear that this side of the gate is particularly heavily armed, if either side is. The gate is certainly not open, but it is recessed within the wall. You don't know how thick the wall is because you haven't seen it from any other side, but it's like it recessed at least 10 feet, so the wall is assumably significantly wider than that. And as you approach, hello.
Hello there. I am I'm
Howdy.
Riona of the Order of Pelor. And this
I am
Here's the delivery
Morgan,
message.
free-range
And
cleric.
he kind of like there was kind of like stiff, but hearing that, they kind of let their guard down a little bit.
I'm going to approach the guards and pull out the letter. We have a delivery. And I show them the seal.
They kind of look at the seal. They don't seem to know it by offhand. None of you recognized it, and it is
Correct.
not like this seal is particularly well known. This is, if it was the king's seal, the current king's seal, and it was on every official document from like the mountains to the coast, then it would be well known. But this is a variant of a royal seal, and there's a lot of the royal family. It's a pretty big and mixed group. So there are a lot of royal families that try to mimic the king seal as close as possible.
That's correct.
And for whom is this intended?
Oh, we're not sure. Also, we have news on the company of Lord Terran. Should we leave that with you, or is there's someone else we should talk to? Or
That remains to be seen. I will take the news first, and then we will decide which.
Oh, his company was waylaid by a beast. They will be delayed, but they should be on their way within a week or so, if I recall.
There were some casualties.
Regrettable. Not exactly unexpected. These lands have become even wilder than in the days of our parents. But you all seem to have fared well. Though a large company to deliver a letter.
We also have a dagger?
Or not.
No.
The size of the company is simply by happenstance, to be perfectly honest.
We're relatively new.
Our instructions were simply to deliver the letter to this location. We were told it would be made clear once we got here.
I will take the symbol and I will show it to those of more lord knowledge.
We were told to deliver it personally. Also,
I have a meeting with Elender Heathermore. Is his sister call ahead? He should be expecting me.
I will see about that one. I will allow you to hold the letter for now. And one moment. And you see he kind of backs up, and there's actually, he kind of turns not to the actual gate itself, not to the large kind of reinforced doors, but to the wall itself, and kind of pushes, in the stone, which seemed almost perfectly smooth.
Yeah. Nice.
And he enters. And it does kind of, as soon as it opens, there's a kind of a outline of light that kind of flashes around the frame.
Does this look like to be a magical effect, or does this look to be an effect of dwarven stonework?
It seems like it could be both those things. Go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Alrighty.
Oh.
19.
Ooh,
it is in fact both those things.
Oh, interesting.
The dwarven, a lot of the dwarven stonework is itself an act of magic. Like, it's not just that dwarves make stone and they do crazy things that normal stone doesn't do. There's the kind of two separate categories of dwarven stonework. There's the fact that the dwarves have advanced knowledge of stone and metallurgy, where to find stone and the properties of stone. But it's also that they then can enchant it in ways that are beyond the skill of most enchanters.
Okay, interesting.
Seeing this effect, Elrich is just going to say friend at the door in Dwarven for no apparent reason.
You get an odd look from one of the other guards that has remained.
All right.
Yeah.
You have an odd look from Riona as well.
It's something out of a story I read.
Where have you traveled from? One of the guards kind of speaks up.
I don't even remember.
We as a company hail from White.
Came from White Snakes.
Any news from the front?
Well, we last heard, I believe, that the war is not overall going well.
But I don't think we heard anything definite though.
I think
No, we still just skirmishes. Nothing official.
And you see, like, the other guards seem to have been listening very attentively. You imagine that's news that is very important to them. And that they haven't received any word themselves recently. But the wind kind of howls against you guys. You're basically exposed to the just continuous blast of wind that goes past this place. The wall, in some weather, would suppress that or like offer some degree of shelter, but just because of the direction the wind is blowing at the moment, it is blowing like long ways against it, and it is very unpleasant. If not for your cold weather clothes, this would have been a very challenging journey. But after only about maybe 10-15 minutes, he returns. And what is your name?
Elrich Vesalius. If it helps, I don't know if his sister used my name directly. He should be expecting a magic user.
We were told to allow you in, allow you passage, you and your company.
Thank you.
Nothing was mentioned of other tasks or business, but Commander is interested in that as well.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Should we relay the news of Lord Terran ourselves again, or has that already been relayed?
I have not relayed that news yet. I will leave that to you. Often when messages are passed from person to person, they change. And that when one can, it's best to pass it directly from the source.
Of course.
Under his breath, Morgan just mumbles, "Someone's passing the buck in Sylvan."
I'm gonna ignore that.
Does Riona even understand that much Sylvan at this point?
No.
I think only two. How much of us understand? You probably understood.
Liam,
Me and Raknul, right?
Liam and an orc.
And Morgan.
The half-elf person doesn't understand Sylvan, but she's trying to learn.
That is a.
You would see that he does not like when he came back out, he like the door slid shut behind him and then vanished from you again. However, after he says that to you, a couple seconds pass and you hear kind of a large kind of clank and click, and the doors behind him begin to open outwards. And the guards kind of get up and move slightly away because they were all standing in the alcove kind of taking shelter. But the 30-foot wide gate doors do open, and inside you find that there is a rather large space between the wall and the other side. It opens into about a 30-foot by 30-foot, like almost just square rise, like a empty courtyard that rises almost all the way to the top of the wall, where a staircase goes around and then enters the wall, and then comes back out and enters the wall, comes back out and enters the wall above. There's a few guards that are kind of, meandering about. None seem to be paying much attention to you for the moment. But as he kind of enters the courtyard with you, someone will be along shortly to guide you. It's a rather maze-like place, so I wouldn't want you getting lost.
Well, thank you.
Out of character, do I happen to remember the name of the commander of the fort? Because I believe I was supposed to talk to this guy, technically, since
Perhaps
he's
it is in your notes.
I don't think it is.
Oh man, that's the party's fault, isn't it? Let's go. to that.
That would mean that we took good notes.
Make an intelligence check.
Okay.
Somebody needs to get the
I mean, I remember he's the commander, but that's it.
I'm sure it will be reintroduced.
Oh, where is that?
Also, while we're waiting, Elrich's going to try to pull out a rag and quickly wipe off the sweat from hiking up and clear off some dirt. And all of you will notice that the rag he's using is dirty, and there is now more dirt on his face.
I'm gonna stage whisper to Morgan prestidigitation.
Yeah, Morgan was already halfway there. Just the scrub brush of magic.
You may you tell me your roll because I don't have
a 9.
9?
Yep.
The rank was commander.
Yep.
And it started.
By the way, if you don't use,
it began with death, and that's what you get.
Okay.
I'm sure you can fake it till you make it.
Commander Death.
Not deaf, food, death.
You would know that isn't the entire name, but you also would know that you can't remember the whole name.
Yeah.
Take notes. Not just you. That's everyone. And that's not just my group. That's every group.
Notes are important.
I have the notes to the things that interested me.
I have been open well for the first time. Anyways.
In any case, he does, after a few minutes, just standing here being gawked at kind of by odd passerbys, someone does arrive, a pair of guards in the customary green clothed armor of those who aren't actively seeing combat. Kind of leather, almost adjacent clothing, but not quite. Is this the company that was spoken of?
Yes, it is.
You may come with us. We will show you to the commander.
Thank you. And I'm sorry. You're the commander of the fort?
Commander DeFerro, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Though not the commander of the fort. No, there's a commander of the fort.
Oh, there. How many are there?
Well, there are 4 commanders.
Okay.
So, you like being a guard here?
Follow, I guess.
He doesn't seem to respond. He just turns and begins to walk. The other guard halts and kind of waits for you to pass before following behind. Careful watch is kept upon you as you walk. You are guided through a selected route. It is very difficult to keep track of where you have gone. As you pass through this place, you begin to realize this wall must be at least 100 to 200 feet wide, but just on the base amount of space, because there are rooms upon rooms and halls, and there are more spaces like the one you already passed through, and ever you are rising upwards, ever you are finding another staircase, and often they are built in open chambers like the one you entered at the gate, but other times they are just simply built into the stonework. It is claustrophobic, and then you are thrust out onto the side of one of those tall open columns, and it is frighteningly high, and then it is claustrophobic again as you kind of weave in and out of these places. And there seems to be hundreds and hundreds of guards, more than you expected. But presently, you are brought into a space that is about is kind of a longer hall than you're used to, or that you've encountered elsewhere in it. Most of the halls are kind of L-shaped almost, like they're just interlocking L's, whereas this one is very straight. It's about 100 feet wide, and there is a door directly in the center of it, facing off the right, that is like ornate, well made, and there's 2 guards posted at it with banners. One of Olindia and one that I don't know that you all would recognize offhand.
Can I see if I recognize it?
You sure may. Anyone who would like may make a history check, provided they are proficient in history, or Bronwyn can do it for reasons.
I will give it
Well,
a shot.
I'm happy with that.
Would my background feat give me
What is your background feat?
I know it had court functionary.
I do not know what that is off the.
Let me read it to you, or I could probably post it.
Your knowledge of how bureaucracies function lets you gain access to the records and inner workings of any noble court or government you encounter. You know who the movers and shakers are, whom to go for the favors you seek, and what the current intrigues of interest in the group are.
Huh.
I will say yes, absolutely. With your background feat, you would know offhand without making a check. Just because of something you kind of picked up about the political structure of this place along the way, perhaps something you learned in the tavern while you were breaking off on your own and making small talk with the local dignitaries that had showed up to the tavern later when drinking had begun, that this gate was, until relatively recently in the grand scheme of things, like the last century or so, held by the elves. It was one of the last kind of strongholds of elves. It was one of the last places that elves dwelled, but their numbers had dwindled. and then they had joined with the crown. In that this symbol you see, the pink banner you see before you, is actually the symbol of that Elvish kingdom, which was allowed to maintain some more autonomy than some might when they joined the kingdom. And they actually joined the kingdom before the kingdom stretched this far. This gate was not. They had abandoned the gate when they joined the Elindia, which is on the other side of the valley. It's on the coastal side. And then when Elindia had expanded and we'll say, what's the proper word?
Annexed
the valley. They then returned to the gate, and so that's kind of a special thing for them. But that these banners are a symbol of that house, which is still a pretty notable force within.
Interesting.
On that, should we go?
Morgan, you would definitely know that that's an Elvish banner. You don't know the intricate history of it, just being kind of outside your sphere of the world. But you would know that that is an Elvish house sigil. It's got features that you are very familiar with, being part of the high elves, more of the elves that dwelled in tall houses and less of the elves that dwelled in trees.
Yeah. Any interesting signifiers on it? Anything notable? That would be intricated, inserted into a symbol?
I will say yes. With the 22, you notice that the central theme is a shield, which is, it's rare to see Elvish heraldry which strongly evokes combat-related imagery. It's very common in dwarves and humans, and it's very rare in elves. So the fact that the central thing, the background image is a shield, it seems like a basic human thing, but it's rare to see one that's elf.
Okay, so this is a family that is known to be a military family. Or at the very least, this banner is associated very strongly with a military organization.
So it would seem.
Okay.
Riona, you may find some
What do I know?
here.
What do you know? Well, the 14, I would... Or
I have 18.
From you. Oh, you had an 18. Okay, yeah. I will say that you recognize some symbols of it as being elven. You have kept a keen eye out for elves in the past, obviously for obvious reasons, and that there are some almost like celebrity elves within the kingdom who are pretty well known, and pink is well associated with them.
Okay.
So
Looking at the elvish symbol
Does it
for
remind me of
prince.
anything personal? Also, pink is now her favorite color.
But yeah, you are pretty hastily brought in, and you see a long oval-shaped table with stone chairs that seem to have been kind of fitted with wooden backing and seats. It looks like it was kind of stone, almost stool-like things that have been then fitted with this kind of wooden top to them. And the stools are fixed to the stone. They are carved from the stone itself. And you realize that the whole room is just carved from some central heart of stone and was imported as one large block. And seated at the end of this table are a few gentlemen, but one kind of stands taller than the rest as you enter. He is wearing a cape of pink, and with his helmet removed, you can see two very long pointed ears drifting back. Are these those that have come?
yes, we come on a handful of matters.
Sit. I am DeFero. I am commander of this garrison.
Morgan will take a seat, and as he does so, he will say, "Thank you for making the time to see us in Elvish."
Well, it is always very appreciated to be addressed in my own tongue, he would reply in Elven. Rare is it to find one that speaks it so fluently.
Riona, also an elven. You say it's an honor to meet with someone so
Pure-blooded?
yeah, well, she's not gonna say pure blood.
It is so good to see one of the Aryan races.
And honorable lineage.
Where the fuck did you learn German accents, Ian?
I don't know. That was Jamaican. I realized halfway through, but I committed.
I didn't even realize it was a German accent, but I don't have any room to like judge. So
I mean, I can't.
That's
Y'all
true.
heard Felix.
That's
for
true.
How long?
well, luckily, meeting with guests is easier when there are few guests in little business. But I do have to tell you bad news, which is that your mission seems to have gone, be it for vain. He has gone into the Veil Beyond and will not be back for some days. You do not know if you have the time to wait or if your actions are dire.
We
No context was given
Someday.
as to your expectedness or your mission.
Oh, we get paid by the day.
In common, there is definitely an air about him that he doesn't have the same fluency with words.
We get paid by the day, so we can wait.
Still an elven.
I mean,
We would prefer to wait for him, since it's supposed to be this message is supposed to be hand delivered directly.
You're saying this in Elven, right?
Oh yes.
Fuck.
All in Elven. She's talking directly to an elf. She's super happy.
Can someone in Elven correct her?
And as long as it's okay with you, we would prefer to stay.
I mind not. Our provisions are not exactly strained. I expect more to be coming soon, but even now, I think that we have no reason to be guarded with our resources.
Speaking on that matter, since the meeting is postponed, we did pass by the company of Lord Terran on the way here. They were waylaid by a beast, a number of their company slain, but they will be here. It's just delayed.
That is unfortunate news, but thank you for bringing it all the same.
And I don't know if my companions have brought it up, but we also have a message for an unknown recipient.
That was something that intrigued me as well, because that was not sent in Eleve's communication, but
Yes, Liam.
I believe it has a symbol on it. I will happily look at it.
Liam, if you would.
He is not.
Ryan,
Ryan,
your
we
audio has
we
cut
cannot
out.
hear you.
Oh man, just watching this is great.
no,
Ryan is
Wait,
so
no.
animated, he makes up for the fact that I am completely unseeable.
And also that we can't hear him.
Oh, I mean, you know what? I'll
Like
speak
you.
for.
Did you press mute on your keyboard?
Can you press mute on your headset?
Is it plugged in?
Oh boy.
have you tried turning it off and
look
turning
of
it back
fear.
on again?
Have you tried leaving and coming back?
There he goes.
He hasn't yet, but he is.
Well, I will speak
I
for
think
Liam. Herder, I'm a big dumb paladin with a -1 int. Look at my god, he's so sexy. Ooh woo.
I assume it's safe to assume he produces the scroll.
I somewhat support this. Somewhat.
It's not wrong.
I would
Yeah.
like him.
can hear you now, buddy.
There is. Can we hear him?
Hey,
There we go.
Yeah,
All right.
hey, all right. I don't know what happened. Hopefully that's not. Okay. So apparently all that stuff that I said wasn't being ignored about the letter. It just wasn't heard.
So
No,
what
to
did
be
you
fair,
say
we
about
probably
the
would've
letter?
been working
I
anyway.
will allow in
But
this instance
It's not
some
that different.
play.
No, I just was like, I made some comment about how
God.
the
Oh,
one
no.
guy was one
No.
person. Ignore it. I present him the letter.
Sorry, buddy.
God God.
It's not just a letter. It's like a cylinder with a symbol
it's
on the like a wax symbol on the top of it.
Hmm.
Peculiar. And where have you come by this?
An innkeep in White Sinks gave it to us.
He kind of turns it on the the other side. He kind of flicks his fingers together, and a small glowing light kind of is on the tip of one of his fingertips, and he presses there. And nothing seems to happen at first, but then slowly another symbol kind of alights on the end. Interesting. I will make sure this gets to its intended recipient.
Unfortunately, we have to deliver it personally, ourselves.
Well, I will make sure that when he returns, it is presented in your presence.
May we hold on to it until then?
Oh.
Do we remember?
This is likely something of rather great importance.
Well, it's traveled all this way with us. Surely a few more days won't hurt.
Such documents are tricky to open, and I have just shown you the first step.
Riona, he's a
Doubtful that
trustworthy
anyone would
sword.
have entrusted this without knowing you all well, and as you say, you've received it in an inn, so I imagine this is a contracted work.
It is.
So I imagine that this would not have been entrusted with you along with the first step to opening the letter.
That is
But
correct.
you can also be assured that I will be a trustworthy.
Insight
I
check.
believe we're perfectly fine.
Yeah,
with
go ahead and make an
trusting
insight
you.
check.
Can I also make an insight check? Can I assist?
Can you assist his insight?
I want to be able to use this because I finally have a use of. Oh, never mind. Let's ignore that.
No, he's saying he looks trustworthy, but he's not a shady fucker. Just saying.
Anyone else would like to roll? May.
All right, I'll roll just in case,
Okay.
just for shits and
Doubt
giggles.
it's gonna go well, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Oh hey.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I doubt it's going to go well, Bronwyn says with a +4.
And I
A 20% average higher roll.
Higher than
Anybody else?
Nah, Morgan doesn't. Morgan believes this guy.
Ryan. It's difficult to really get a gauge on him. He seems trustworthy, and with his station as great as it is, you imagine that he is entrusted with such documents on the regular.
Oh yeah.
I will say that I would probably pull one aside for this, should it not have been rolled by 2 party members. There is a reluctance to give it back to you.
Mhm.
There is a reluctance to be entirely forward about why. But you're not sure that you have much choice.
Yep.
Because he is already placing it within and it is well within his grasp.
Yeah.
We passed by a lot of guards on the way up here.
Yeah. Plus, again, we get paid by the day, so fuck it. What do we care?
Okay, we'll stay and wait and yeah, okay.
Speaking of getting paid by the day, is there like some sort of like official note that you can give us to be like the message was received?
Can you sign for this?
Because like may have I'll say metagame wise may have like overstepped slightly the like terms of the contract, but yeah.
All right, cool.
Such things are rarely given actual open end, such as the legislature and legal system that regarding adventurers and contracted work that is adventure-like is all pretty detailed, and there are some assumptions made within it.
Okay.
You all never received or requested a posting of this adventure.
So
Right.
It's fine.
It'll be okay.
still operating illegally, so it's cool.
Yeah.
Just let this fucker have it. Fuck
It's
it.
Right.
In the meantime, did we have any further business amongst the
Hopefully
party?
the innkeep believes us.
I would prefer to stay for Elender to get back,
Yes.
but
Well, of
We're
course, I
waiting
imagine
anyways.
that is your primary.
Until he gets back and see it be delivered to him and watch that happen.
wait, is the scroll for Elender?
Oh, no. Sorry, not him. Sorry. Well,
Oh, it's not for Elender.
same party, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're all in agreement. We stay at least until
The recipient.
scroll gets to its final recipient, and hopefully we can deal with the matter of Elender
As well.
at that point. I imagine.
Can also be resolved.
Well, I cannot. I warn that our accommodations are far from luxurious, but they are yours.
Sleeping on the road. It'll be fine.
We're more than happy to
We've
accept whatever you
already
ask.
been prepared for the men on their way, so perhaps those would serve as suitable accommodations for you since they are delayed.
That sounds
Lovely.
I'm sure that would be just fine.
So not to, we obviously don't want to be a burden. I'm a scribe. Is there any non-confidential or menial work that I could perhaps provide for you, or spiritual guidance for your men if in the time being?
Make
To
a
help
persuasion check.
Please.
Oh my
Please,
God.
To
come on.
officiate weddings.
Let's do this. Come on.
I am actually.
High roll.
I did say non-confidential, so I mean, fuck it.
Yeah.
Persuasion.
Oh,
9.
What? You did that with that? Oh my gosh.
But I am a librarian.
I'm sure I invite you to offer your services wherever you may within the men. They are free to do as they will. I know of no tasks that would suit those skills at the moment that are not already fulfilled.
Of course.
in Elvish,
What about?
Riona would like to speak to him and say, you're.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. This is gonna sound so ridiculous. Most honorable sir, would it be possible for me to get a private audience with you at some point within the next few days? Regarding personal business.
See no reason why not, though it is curious.
Hey Chris, looking over this guy without telling Riona, does this guy's like general facial features match up with being more high elvish than wood elvish?
Yeah.
Good to know. I'll let her in on that one later.
You would know, just because it's of your research and your background. Generally speaking, the mountains split the continent, and it's about it's really most of it's east, almost the entirety of it's east, and it's endless black forests of overgrown jungle and hidden kingdoms. And that is where most of the wood elves dwell. That is their place, yo.
Yeah.
On this side of the mountains, it's almost entirely high elf, but it's not really high elf. It's mixed lineages.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few lineages that are significantly this or that. And high elf is not the only one, but high elf is probably the most common. But it is first of all split along the mountains with like rainforest elves and the mountain elves, or the hillland elves. But
yeah. So these guys are kind of muddish in terms of high elf lineage. They're
this man appears to be very not muddish.
Oh, really?
But generally
Interesting.
speaking, they are muddish.
Okay, interesting. Well, I think that covers everything. Who wants lunch?
Yeah, I could eat.
Yeah, sounds great.
Gentlemen, we'll show you to good quarters and guide you to the nearest place where food can be requested.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And,
let's proceed on.
I will hear later about what we just discussed.
Yes, I have some matters to attend to, but you may request if there will be some degree, you must understand as you are outsiders, coming on high recommendation, but outsiders nonetheless. There will be some guard that is stationed to watch you and travel with you. They will be able to bring you here at any point. I will be open for visitation, we'll say.
Lovely.
Brilliant.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you.
And you see, as soon as you guys kind of get up to go, the others that have like sat there, like one of them kind of reaches behind himself and kind of starts to pull out some notes. And you imagine that like he's next. And that they were waiting for you guys to leave and continuing as you were guided.
Oh, shit.
What do they look like? Who's this guy? What does he look like? Does he look shady?
Who?
I don't know.
I think the guy that he's getting ready to
papers. He looks like he's probably about like 34, which is pretty old for like baseline soldier. But he doesn't seem to be in the garments of a particularly high officer, so he's probably like just made it officer and just made it on time.
Oh, we just interrupted this poor requisition
Nice.
officer's like first meeting with the CO.
Oh.
Get fucked, Todd.
Jesus.
And you kind of expected to be being brought back into the bowels of this place, like down and into the kind of maze-like area. And for a moment you are, but it actually, your path continues upwards. And at last you come to the top of the wall.
Oh, that's nice.
Here, it is more evident of its origin as a bridge. It is almost like a long alleyway, wide, with kind of raised terraced structures around the sides of it. And then there's two more walkways across the roofs of those terraces, like across, like over them, that are the actual edges of the wall itself. But down in this valley, it's almost like this just long settlement. It's relatively empty based upon the scale. You imagine at one point in time, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dwarves had to have lived here. And now it's a few hundred men across the entire thing. It's kind of almost like a ghost town in a way. But it's still more active than the terrain you guys have seen over the last few days. And the scale of the thing is massive because there are no breaks in the line. You can look down the line, the street, the way, and it goes for 1 kilometer to your right, and you look to your left, and it goes 1 kilometer to your left, and they both end in wide open tunnels that lead deep into the mountains.
Oof.
Wow. Amazing.
But you were brought to a cluster of structures that seem to have all been kind of outfit with rough cots and hammocks and other general accommodations like small footlockers and the like. It looks like this was where, this is definitely where men are going to be stationed soon. It looks like because of the amount of space, the surplus of space, they don't really reuse space. So the garrison that is leaving is in separate accommodations from the garrison that is coming because there is no purpose in like that overlap.
Right.
But it is cold. It is not too cold for your cold weather, but it is unpleasantly cold. And definitely there are fireplaces that are readily available within pretty much every room of the accommodations. And while the garrison itself is going to be stationed like 20 men to a room, there are probably 6 rooms unused, so you're able to sleep within those however you would please. And you are able to relatively travel as you will, but always with a guard present.
I am going to pull Riona off to the side.
Yay!
You like to have a lot of side conversations.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot today. Anyway, I'll bring her back to you in a minute, Liam.
Hey,
Come with
Morgan.
me.
What's up?
So why are you so interested in the commander? He says you're now realizing that he was not there when you had that conversation with Aleve.
Well,
Oh, I know what I said, Chris.
as you may have noticed, maybe, and Riona's gonna like take off her helm and just like tuck her hair behind her ears so you can see her half elf ears. As you may have noticed, I am a half elf, Morgan. And
she looks like a wood elf, doesn't she? Is that correct, Chris?
Riona is extremely pale with slightly almost silvery skin, but thick, almost albino. Like she would be albino, except she has black eyes, like irises.
Okay, so she's
animated pale.
Yeah. So these are definitely features more of like a high elf. Is that correct, Chris?
Don't ask me.
What?
I'm asking you from an anthropological standpoint.
From an anthropological standpoint, they are not distinctly wood elf.
They are not distinctly wood elf. Okay, interesting.
I will not say that they are distinctly high elf.
At the very least, she does not have. Riona does not have wood elven coloration.
I'm not extremely tan.
They generally fall upon the angle of high elves, but the guy that you witnessed, he had like a number of features. The most dominant being like the long curved back ears. All elves have like pointed ears, but like the long, distinctly curved back ears, that is a given high elf thing. Like that is a distinct tell that somebody has an large amount of high elf heritage.
Yeah. No, I recognize that you're an elf. I just don't realize why you're so interested in him.
If you may have noticed, he's an elf.
Your point being?
No. Also, you're not there. Morgan, as a Pelorphin, I haven't really had the opportunity to know my family.
You mean the ones who left you at an orphanage? And thus clearly had no intention of keeping you around?
Yeah, okay, but the thing is, so the thing is, though, most children that get left there to
rot.
I love Morgan.
They're usually left there at a much younger age. Like, for example, literally everyone I've ever talked to, pretty much. Anyway, I just really, I just really want to, it's been a while, It's been well, let's see. I was left there. I think I was about 2 is what the priests told me when I was left. And it's been about 20 years. So, which is nothing for elves. I mean, and I have some memories of my parents.
I mean, yeah, it just sounds like to them they dropped you off for like a weekend at vacation. And just forgot.
Although Phil,
I wanted 6 charisma. I wanted 6 charisma. All right, I'm just defending that.
Well, I mean, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't like, a temporary thing or like a mistake or they changed their minds or, I mean, I've just grown so much and I've developed new skills and
They left you at an orphanage? That's kind of a definitive answer, Riona. But anyway, where I was gonna go with this is that if you're gonna talk with him, it's probably best to arm you with what little information I could glean. So you can temper your expectations, or if you just want to fuck him, I don't, something you can lean into.
No, he's not really my type. He seems a bit old for me.
Really? Because I think he's handsome.
I mean, if you want to, I can put in a good word for you, Morgan.
Oh, no. Sam's more than enough trouble as it is.
All right.
Anyway, well, one thing you need to know. He seems to be coming from a family that has extensive military background. Very high elvish, so expect a little arrogance. Nothing personal, they're better than you in literally every way.
I mean, he is a full-blooded elf.
I mean, yeah, right? Did you see those ears? God damn, just want to grab hold. Not like that. That would be very rude, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
But I mean, why do you even want to find your parents? They sound like assholes.
Well, I couldn't possibly know that. I want to get to know them a bit more, and I'm older. I've matured. They could be old. I mean, they're older. They could have matured.
Data point of 1. They threw you in an orphanage.
I mean, there could have been extenuating circumstances.
You picked the worst person to talk to.
Oh my god.
I would literally, if I had a child and I threw it into an orphanage, I would not want to have that conversation. Because you know how that conversation's going to end?
No, that's why I want to find them.
Okay, let me go ahead and give you a preview. It's going to end with, wow, that's really weird. Go back.
You couldn't possibly know that that's how they could react. You don't know. I mean, maybe they could be really happy about it, and I don't know. I mean, they could change their minds.
All right, as the son of parents who were not very good, I understand you want to meet them and that you have expectations, but the reality is most parents are assholes. It's just the level of asshole that they are to their children and what sort of punt they pass on. They gave you a bad one.
See, but I just the things that I've read and the talks that I've had with the priests and
That's because they invested the intent to care about you. They didn't throw you off to the side when you weren't useful anymore and didn't write another fucking book. And you can see Morgan is visibly furious now, by the way.
Riona's gonna pat Morgan on the shoulder and just be like, Morgan, I'm very sorry about your experience with your parents, but and anytime you want to talk about it is fine. But I'm just gonna I'm fine, and thank you for your concern. But I'm gonna go talk to him. And I would like to learn. I'm gonna try to meet them, and I think it'll go well.
Yes, will go very well.
Oh my! Your optimism is worthy of study. It really is.
Oh, thank
I wish you nothing but.
Bless your heart.
I hate that I waited to make the tea till after break.
You don't have any tea to sip.
Exactly.
I will. Morgan will just sort of awkwardly side hug Riona and then just leave really frustrated.
All right. What is everyone else doing? Because that was a pretty long conversation.
Yeah.
Weren't we getting food from somewhere? Is that a thing?
Yeah. We were gonna have lunch and decide on our sleeping.
I was promised lunch.
Elrich's gonna take the afternoon to write a note in code, and then as soon as he puts it, folds it up to put it in an envelope, he's gonna realize he doesn't know where to send it, and is just gonna put it in his bag.
All right.
Seris would on our, I guess, like while we're eating lunch, like to invite our chaperone to join us.
I would say while you're eating lunch, the chaperone probably sits like in the room, but not like at your table.
No. She would invite him to join us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like as you walk over, no, thank you. But I thank you for that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You look awfully lonely.
He looks at his friend. No, but thank you.
Oh, it's so great.
Well, that's fair. Thanks, Chris.
I would say within the circumstances of this character.
Well, then she would go back.
Specific character. His name is Dale.
Oh, Dale.
Okay.
And while you aren't continuously escorted by the ones in that kind of the distinct like green leathers, there's always one of them within any group of your chaperones. They definitely seem to be more or less the ones assigned. And that is not like typical garb of like all soldiers of the military. Like that is a distinct mark of some degree of station.
Well, after her lunch, she'd like to kind of go like strike up a conversation with the group or whatever.
Right.
So, do you enjoy being all the way up here, or is it just part of the duties?
Is this with your chaperones or with other randoms?
The chaperones.
Basically, as soon as you like approach, like they stop talking and are very quiet. It is certainly not the worst post that one can receive.
How long are your stints?
Some longer than others.
Oh.
And you get a distinct, like, cold feeling from their disposition towards you.
Can I insight check that?
You sure may.
$21.
They do not want to talk to you, whether under command or other reasons.
Oh, that's funny. So unappealing.
Well, what do you...
See, why do you post that stuff in the Discord where you can just see it here?
Because I'm an asshole. But I'll just read it. Dudes haven't seen shore leave in 200 years, and the first sign of the hottie they see, it sounds like a fucking Disney villain. Corella DeVille's trying to suck my dick. It's not cool.
Any particular reason you don't like to chat?
There's little to chat about.
Well then, she would perhaps I will. Would you care to point me towards someone else that might be a little more friendly then?
There's a wide room of people.
Anyone bring a deck of cards?
Thank you. You know, I'm not very good at that.
There are definitely card games being played in this message.
Yeah, I will definitely
is ready to throw
join
down.
in on
Slink
card
back
games.
to the group for and start picking out her next more willing party to chat with.
I'll say, Ryan,
Morgan-
that for time's sake,
Yes.
you are taught a really interesting new game you've not played before, known as the Prestige. That should definitely be brought up again and played with the group.
Oh,
I would like, I would presume that this information will give me a detailed advantage playing the game going forward.
Sure.
Sure.
Probably for at least the first round.
At least the first round. But yeah, other than that, grabbing some food, maybe going back, meditating for the evening. Anybody else?
Seris, are you trying to strike up a conversation with others?
No. But later in the evening, she would like to, take a walk, get some exercise, take
When
a
you
peek
leave?
around the encampment, and see kind of what is where, what's going on.
So you're able to see the top, for lack of a better word, what they refer to as the trench, which is this one alleyway that has the buildings along either side of it, the kind of stone carved buildings. You're able to navigate that pretty well. Do you try and venture down into the wall?
Probably not too far. More or less, I want to kind of look and see where officers congregate at, where decisions might be made. What are the
Officers do not congregate on top of the wall.
well then, she would like to perhaps venture down into the wall then.
As soon as you move to the start, the escort who has been following you. It'd be best to remain here atop the wall. The chambers are often confusing, and there are many things within that are best kept quiet or are preferred not to be interfered with by outsiders.
Well, isn't that what you're for, to keep me out of trouble?
And I am doing so.
I'd telegraph that one.
Oh, if you insist, then. And she would
If
make
you
her way.
describe what you are looking for, I may help you find it through other passages.
I was mostly looking to see if there was a library or perhaps somewhere we could take a bath. I'm not exactly in the same shape as my shoulders, if you hadn't noticed.
There is a number of facilities that may offer that. I think your wisest bet, I can show you there, a bath facility. As far as the library, there's not much in that way here.
Too bad.
This is...
How do your leaders reference decisions to be made?
I imagine with their private books. They're private. Libraries.
Of course.
But there's no central library. This is not a place of great knowledge or learning. This is a place of garrison.
I see that. I just figured with something a little more permanent like this, there might be something to help the soldiers pass time when they're not on duty.
Many soldiers carry books amongst themselves. Many exchange books amongst themselves. Perhaps you may ask around. You have seen the primary common areas already.
Thank you. Now about that bath.
Yes. And he would show you to nearby your residence. There is a facility that actually has flowing water. It is very cold.
Seris doesn't like that.
This poor bard is getting her espionage blue balls and getting a cold shower to go with it. It's not great.
I prefer hot water if you can accommodate.
Make a persuasion check.
Please get a nat. Come on, nail this roll.
20.
Hey.
Those rolls good, not bad.
Yeah.
And he kind of like looks at you, and I'm imagining like it doesn't look like cold water. You can't like know until you try. So you probably are looking like a cat that has been dropped in the pool. Given your origin and disposition towards colder temperatures.
Yeah, not a huge fan.
And with that ensemble, he would be This would not be a regular occurrence, but I can tell that you have traveled along the road and are, of course, welcome guests. I'll show you towards one of the officers' rooms.
That would be lovely if you could arrange that.
And he would take you down into the wall now.
So brilliant.
And kind of through twisting chambers, he would ask you to remain outside as he enters one of a number of doors that kind of exit off an elbowed hall.
Could you kind of give me a description of like, I'm trying to like kind of remember like how he took me through the wall and like the things that I saw like going through there. Would there be anything that like kind of jumped out at me as like maybe a particularly important room or a like corridor?
Not on the route you would have been brought. There is a difficulty in this place, which is that it is designed to be difficult to traverse, and that not all the passages that used to be open are anymore. A lot of the passages have been sealed as part of the transfer from this being like a livable place to it be a fortified place, because it was not built as a military like structure by the dwarves, but it has been centuries upon centuries since those days. This place has stood for millennia. It has seen countless different garrisons and countless different people that have lived here, and each has shifted and changed it. And in its current state, it is very hard to navigate and very hard to understand what rooms are being used for what. And almost every door is kept shut. And almost every hall is sealed from other halls with doors. It is not easy to traverse this place, like to see your way around.
Okay, but I could probably like have a pretty good mental map of the way I got from where I came from where I am.
You can probably get back where you came. It wasn't that far into the wall. It was probably only one floor down and a few turns.
Okay.
I mean, you imagine you're on like a superficial level at this point.
Okay.
You are not like where you were at the commander's garrison. You're not at where you were deeper in the wall.
Okay.
And another thing that you would know is that regular guards, you saw them all around when you were coming through the ant's nest, so to speak. But they do not want you all traversing down there freely as non-military personnel.
Okay.
But he returns. The room is clear if you would like.
Thank you.
And as you enter, it's a nice room. It's carpeted. There are candles and there is a small bookshelf with a number of books. There is a small pair of like chairs that are not exactly Spartan, but it's not anything elaborate. And there's 4 doors that branch off of it, and one of them is opened. And inside you find a small bathing chamber. There is some water being heated. I will say that it is not enough to really draw a full bath or anything like that, but you can draw part of a bath that is heated.
Okay. Gotcha. So she's going to, that kind of like, is he like staying in? Is this so we have like kind of like a foyer, and then like the bathroom, and then four doors going off of it?
Mm-hmm.
Is he like outside in the hall, or is he like?
He is staying in the foyer, and another man kind of after you. Are you coming back out
of the back? Yeah. I haven't quite gone in yet.
Okay, gotcha. He's just remaining in the foyer for now.
Okay. Can I kind of quickly glance over like the spines of the book and see if there's any like titles or anything on them?
Yeah. Go ahead and make a perception check. Just a glance across the whole shelf.
Mm-hmm. 13.
There are a variety of titles. Most of them seem to be it seems to be a lot of works of nonfiction, biographies, histories, etc.
Okay. I need to read something real quick.
We can come back to you if you.
Yeah, come back to me.
All right. What is everyone else doing?
After going through the process to write that letter, I would just study my book, sleep.
Morgan might pull Raknul off. No, he wouldn't pull him off the side. He's been doing this all day.
There we go.
And at this point, he's just frustrated.
Everybody gets one.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the Morgan conversation.
I'm just talking to everybody who hasn't gotten to talk one-on-one yet. Hey, Rack. That's an awful nickname. Forget I ever said that.
I don't know if I can.
I wanted to... Please try. Please try so hard. I wanted to apologize for calling you out unfairly the other day. After you explained yourself, I kind of agree with what you said. I get it. I really do. What I do as a cleric of Ioun, one of the things I value is not necessarily the moral justification of an argument. It is more that the action is conducive to creating a society that can improve. I've thought a little bit about what you've said and a lot of other people's reactions, and I think I want to float a counter-argument to what you said yesterday, not as a judgment, but as something to think on. Is that okay?
What?
Okay. You know how everybody said you attempting to kill that bitch was bad?
Yeah.
And how you were right in saying that that shit's copacetic.
Okay.
Oh my god, Nick, you're killing me. I'm gonna stop smoking just for a second so you can I can see your face properly.
Well, of course he's, because you just in general, of course.
Okay. Part of the reason that they reacted so strongly to that is there is a principle of investment in other people that people like Liam value more than most. One of the advantages of that investment in keeping people who are a potential threat alive in the moment is that long term they pay dividends. They're more useful to us and more helpful to our long term survival. I understand in that moment, and I agree with you in that moment, that killing that bitch was your best call. But I'm just saying that maybe start thinking about when these opportunities come up. That what can she do for me in 2 days' time? Maybe.
Where I'm from, if all it takes is one life to save the many, it's worth doing. Because even if she could help me in 2 more days, it isn't going to make up for what we could lose if that decision isn't made and acted on.
And I agree. But I encourage you, not necessarily require you to act on whatever you think, but I encourage you to explore Liam's perspective a little bit in your own method. I'm not going to ask you to change, but give it some thought. That you're a powerful man, Raknul. You could probably kill me before the guards could even show up.
I don't have a reason to, though.
But yeah,
Fair.
I think we're both honest enough. I think we're both honest enough to agree that if it came down between you and me, we'd always choose ourselves. But there's power in not doing that. There's sometimes things of value to be gained in that situation if you play it right. It's risky, but it can be very worth it. Why do you think I hang out with Sam so much? He's useful to me, and I invest in him. I make sure he stays alive, even though it's detrimental to my health, because without him, I don't have a guide. Long term, he's more helpful to my survival than any of you, to be honest.
All of this just seems overly complicated.
It's a theme with me, but that's sort of the point.
I love it.
Why is the point for it to be complicated?
It's an exercise in trying to understand. It's called mindfulness. It's have a cupcake.
What?
Hey, that's loud. Like the cupcake.
Am I buying you enough time yet, Reid?
Oh yeah, I know what I would like to do.
Reid, you're down and you're taking a shower.
Yeah. Did I see him take out like a key ring and unlock this door or anything, or
Nope.
did it just like open up?
Oh.
Nope.
No.
You're gonna get us in trouble.
Sorry.
This is about to happen.
Through a few of the doors you traveled through, but there didn't seem to be any order to it.
Could you say that again, Chris?
It seemed like he used a key ring to go through some of the doors, but some of the doors he did he simply pressed.
Yeah. So kind of standing here in this foyer, Seris is going to kind of look a little uncomfortable and kind of look at him and say, "Do you mind waiting in the hall? I'm just a little uncomfortable being here alone with you. I'm sure you understand. And perhaps leave any keys on the table there. That way I know
Deception.
Suggestion. I need him to make a wisdom save.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Here we go.
I used to leave the key on the table.
So, Raknul, forget everything I said about investing in other people. Fuck this bitch.
They're all trash.
Hey.
They're all trash and they all deserve to die. Oh, I'm not talking about you, Riona.
Well,
You said they're all
Well.
trash. What am I supposed to be?
Interesting. I'm a little surprised by this, but not the result, but the wording of the spell. I'm surprised it doesn't have the following response if they succeed, because he rolled an 18, which I believe is higher than your DC.
Yep, he has no idea what happens. Or he doesn't.
Yeah, he has
he
no
just-
idea what happens.
Nope.
No. If you feel uncomfortable here, we can always return. I assure you that the majority of men and women who serve this garrison have no issue showering in the conditions you were offered. This, in fact, is only one of a very select few officers that are provided with the accommodations for warm bathing for other reasons. This has been a stretch for me to offer this to you, and it will not be handled again.
And I really do appreciate it. But if you insist, then she'll go ahead and take her shower.
All right.
Oh man.
I love that ultimatum. Either take the hot shower or you're going to experience the RoboCop Detroit police bathing experience.
When you return to the room, he is no longer alone. There is another man sitting with him that is in not armor in any way, just decent clothing.
Kind of coming out, wringing her hair out with a towel. Who is this?
The owner of the room.
I am the owner of the shower that you've just taken, and you are welcome to it. I hear that the accommodations, of course, I do not like the ice as well, and I know that some of us are less inclined to it than others.
It does not agree with me. I'm from a rather warm climate, and this whole trip up here has been less than pleasant.
I have spent most of my career on the seas myself, and have found this station to be of similar discomfort.
I'm glad someone here can appreciate the comforts of civilization. But I do appreciate you allowing me to use your shower.
What is your name? Come. And he gestures, and the guard who had taken a seat in one of the seats gets up and stands aside. He doesn't seem to be bothered or nearly have the same cold expression he did before. He just kind of stands back and offers it to you.
Taking a seat, she'd say, Seris, and she'd kind of extend a hand. And
Asen.
case, and
Oh no.
Ooh.
I was not knowing that. I know someone named that.
and how did you come to find station all the way here?
Well, I am a captain of the Navy, but I am here on more specific business as part of a company of individuals.
Oh,
I believe that you are guests of another of my company.
oh, and who would that be?
Ellender.
Ah, yes, the spellcaster.
Yes, the wizard.
Yes, he's supposed to meet with one of my companions. We met his sister on the road, and she sent word.
I have also met her. She is lovely, young
Yes,
in the world.
Aleve, yes, she's wonderful. So,
Where do you hail from?
oh, very far.
Try me. I've traveled extensively.
Oh, and do I have a name for where I was crossed? We do. Seris, I presume, would know that name even if Reid does not.
Seris might know better than to use it, though.
Yeah. What would be a reasonable place she might give as her origin?
That is a question for her. Because every origin place has a different implication to it. That might be a conversation for you and I to have it more depth if you'd like to know, but any place you would say is going to have its own implication if it's not from here. Like not from Olindia.
Right.
Go balls out, say Koiga. Worked last time, kids.
I mean, I'll say that I don't have any access. Like, I mean, you have access to the same document I would go open right now to tell you. So
Claiming from Aquila shit's easy to get away with.
What, spit on his feet?
It's obvious. Obviously, it's a customary greeting.
And you can also always make up nations.
Where are you from? Detroit.
Really a very small. Takai. I don't know if you would have heard it.
Takai.
It's been a while. Not a place that I've traveled.
And you, where do you hail from?
Well, I suppose that depends on when. Long back. Hard to say. More recently, Erthax and the sea surrounding her. But everyone's history is a little bit different, I've found. Some people put a lot of value in where they hailed from. Others put a lot of value in their names or the ranks or the titles. I put value in conversation. So I'm interested in your group because your group was of interest to Ellender. It was interest enough that he contacted us, despite not having contacted us in many, many days. Nothing that breaks a wizard concentration. That is intriguing.
Except perhaps another wizard? It's my understanding that...
Oh,
Arcane casters are few and far, and
there's a wizard in your company.
Well, that's why we're here. We don't exactly know.
Oh. Interesting. Ooh. If I might ask. That is intriguing.
It's also my understanding that Ellender's not here at the moment.
No, he has traveled into Savannah. The veil
Yes.
beyond the gate.
And for any particular purpose.
He's taken his current people. I meddle not in the affairs of prison.
They can
Though
be-
they, of course, are curious to me, I meddle not, and ask questions certainly not of Allender, for the answers would always be more annoying than I would like. But I'm happy to pry behind his back. That's another thing entirely.
Oh,
What of yourself? Have you inclination for magics?
oh, none at all.
Mhm.
I prefer the pointedness of a blade.
I don't. None at all seems like. I don't know about that. You have an air about yourself. Come traveling in the company of a wizard, you carry no blade, and that you travel with a company of soldiers. Armored men.
Very generous descriptors there.
That you have no strength of your own.
Oh, I never said I didn't have any strength of my own, but I think that air about me that you referred to is simply my womanly charms.
Yep.
Make a perception check.
All right.
Make a what?
Oh my god.
Deception
The
check.
fucking camera cut to
Deception?
Yeah.
the camera cut to Riona or Will and Bronwyn there, and her eyes were just immediately like, motherfucker. It was so good.
That's awesome.
The perfect cut.
21.
Nice.
But I heard you were also looking for reading.
Yes, the conversation on the road has been rather dull.
Now, you're welcome to any of mine, and you're welcome to any of Allender's. And he points at the books upon the wall that you should choose.
Oh, any in particular that you recommend?
Well, I find most of the nonfiction to be pretty dry, and so I have a few of my own that are more novelized. And he points, there are a few kind of stacked on the side.
She'd kind of get up and like go thumb through them real quick and kind of see like what the gist of them is.
I mean,
Taxi in a mushroom forest. That's a weird one.
I was gonna say something. Not the one you, not the stupid thing you expect, but like another stupid thing. But it's too much. You would pretty quickly realize that they're adventure books. They are young adult novels.
How old does this guy look?
Probably lower 40s. But they're like, they are raw entertainment books. They are not like, they're nothing dirty and they're nothing special, but they're like the sort of thing you'd expect in like a teenage boy's like kind of like go to, but not that go to. Like the
For the one
the one that his parents buy him.
It's not that Dragonlance saga, thankfully.
It's not the Lust Argonian Maid.
It's Dragonlance.
Um, yes, I may take advantage of your offer. Is this room where you and your company stay?
Yes.
Yes, well, I would very much like to continue our conversation and perhaps talk about some books. What will you be doing? Will you be here for a few days? I think we're waiting for...
And we're on the same schedule.
Fair enough. Well, then we will for certain continue this conversation. Can I count on my escort to bring me back here to visit?
The escort has orders and I have orders, but my orders generally supersede his.
Excellent. Then in the very near future.
Do you know who he is? Who these guards are?
They've not been particularly chatty.
Nor will they be. They are respectable individuals, even by the sorts of me who are less inclined towards military affairs, despite, being technically a captain and technically a member of the military. I am a little less rank and file when it comes to my affairs. But these men are the definition. They are to be respected and to be minded. If they are being quiet, they are watching you. And if you are getting away with something, they are letting you. Keep that in mind.
Very good to know.
Your friends might be wondering where you are.
Yes.
The soldier has said it, and he was like quiet through this whole thing, just like looking down.
Looking down?
Oh no.
Then we will continue our talk about wizards and adventuring in the very near future.
Whatever you may, and bring your friends as well. They all seem interesting from the looks I've seen and got.
Of course. And she'll kind of make her way out the door with her escort.
And as you leave, the escort follows, and he's stopped by the man who kind of whispers something to him.
Can I perception check that, maybe?
You can.
Keep waiting for this glorious.
I hate to see her leave, but I love to watch her go.
15.
Oh,
You are unable to hear. He is subtle enough. Meanwhile, up top, what are you guys doing?
Morgan pulls Sam aside. No,
Oh my god! Why?
Morgan,
I was kidding. I was kidding.
Sam, what would you like to do?
I'd like to pull Morgan aside.
Sam, pull Morgan.
Elrich is tired and is sleeping. No one is pulling him aside.
Sam, I have to wake Elrich up and pull him aside.
No, Sam really doesn't have anything to do. He's just kind of resting.
Well, without anybody else, I think, Bronwyn, are you going down tonight?
What?
Are you going down to see the guy tonight, or are you...
Whenever he sends for me, and whenever he has free time.
It didn't sound like he was going to send for you.
Oh, well then, yeah. I'll go.
Yeah, it sounded like he had told you that the guards would bring you back to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then I absolutely would go back to see him.
And they would guide you in, we'll say like right after dinner, perhaps. And, he would come into the same room you met him in before. It seemed like it had a lot of doors adjoining it. You imagine offices and quarters of some nature. Is this a fine place for us to meet, or would you like something else? I don't know what business this is.
No, I think this is okay.
Is your helm on and yada yada?
No, she would probably have it strapped to her pack.
Gotcha.
On the outside.
The question is ears.
Oh, absolutely, she has them out for this.
Yes.
Yeah, she definitely has her hair done.
In that case, he would kind of say that, and then he would stop. Oh.
Oh.
Not no. Sorry. From what lineage do you hail?
Well, I'm not entirely sure.
To clarify, I'm noticing now for the first time that you are elven blood.
Yeah, I do have some elven and ancestry heritage. If you actually, that's kind of sort of related to the subject of the meeting.
I see.
So, like, I've met some half elves. I've met a few elves. But I'm trying to learn more about elven lineages, and also possibly trace them. Well, trace them to my family, possibly, hopefully.
There's a kind of a softness in his expressions. Sit down, child.
Oh, thank you. And she'll kind of
and kind of sit in the seat beside you. I know of your order, that which your heraldry declares. I know what that means about where you must have trained, and what you mean when you question your origins. But there are many elves in this world. Though my knowledge of families and houses is extreme, it comes from age. It comes from meeting them and knowing them. There are few easy tells to a single individual's parenthood. Would that there be magic in that world that was readily accessible to determine such things. Perhaps a lender might be able to provide some knowledge seeking when he returns, but as much as I can tell you is that you certainly are of strong elven heritage from my eyes. How old are you?
Well, I'm 22-ish.
And forgive me, but there is a character to your appearance. Do you know from what it stems?
I'm not really sure. Almost as far back as I can remember, I've looked pretty much the same.
It, to the untrained eye, might appear as a drow, dark elf. But I find that is not in keeping with your features.
I don't think that as far as I know, I don't think that fits. I have some
You certainly don't seem to have the disposition of a drow.
Oh, thank you.
I find it hard to imagine a drow that serves the sun god.
It does seem like it would be a bit odd.
It'd be pretty painful, I
imagine. It's true.
You know what my next character is, bitches.
I ask your age because there are certain characters within it, and not all elves share the lifespan. I am 5,000 years old.
Oh.
Well, you look very good for your age.
I do. Most elves of pure blood as well. With half elves, the span can shift. Some are younger, some are older. Allender is of the older persuasion in that he ages faster than others. I believe you met his sister.
Yes.
Nice.
She actually directed me to you. She said you might have some further information.
Alave is of the elder, the younger, I suppose would be the way to say it. She would live for some centuries yet.
Oh. Well,
From your disposition and appearance, this is just having met you, it seems that you are young in this world.
well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Which means you are of strong lineage.
Does that mean that I might be of like descended from elven aristocracy or something like that?
Perhaps. I would not say that I believe that you fall within my bloodline, just based on those characters that we have been taught and the family members that I've known. I have many.
I do have some vague memories. I mean, they're from very, very far back. But I believe my elfin descent or lineage was on my mother's side, and from what I remember, she seemed to be fairly she seemed to be fairly tan. She did really enjoy the outdoors, and all I can remember, all my memories of her did seem to happen outside. I don't actually remember us having an official house of sorts, really.
Yet you were young, even by human standards. And within our eyes, you were but barely entered the world. I imagine.
I was about. They said I was about 2.
You see that whatever he had been expecting in terms of how young you were describing these things, that even surprises him like, oh. Well, then such memories are hard to trust. Not to say that they are distrusting, that I distrust you, but that you should approach them with the understanding that children's minds are fascinating things. They see the world in an interpretive way. They remember not what they watched and what they witnessed, but what they understood. When you say that you spent a lot of time outdoors and that you had no official house, those things speak to a woodland heritage.
That seems maybe like a possibility.
Having wood elf with, if you excuse me, your complexion.
I would say my complexion is a bit unusual for my family.
But you wouldn't know.
That's true. But it's a bit unusual for anybody, so.
She's got the widest of privilege.
And you have like black people of size, right?
No. So she has
or black
regular looking eyes.
Okay.
But she has like she has whites to her eyes and stuff like that. But
it's
the rest
just black
of
cornea.
Yeah, the rest of her eye is black.
Wait, like the eyeball is black? Is that what you're saying?
No, okay.
Instead of like having blue or green eyes, she has black eyes.
Okay, all right. I'm just confirming because you keep like that's what I thought, but like every time you described it, it sounded like the other thing, and I was like, that's pretty extreme. I haven't been having people act like they're walking up to you and you have like entirely pitch black eyes. That would be a pretty strong reaction from almost everybody.
If she had entirely pitch black eyes with no whites, I would say that. I would have said. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So black corona, white scalara.
Yeah.
Yep.
cornea, rather. Excuse me.
Cornea, iris, and all of that. But the actual whites of her
Galar.
eyes are still white.
So tell me of you talents of magic.
Well, I mean, in the order of Kalor, we have been.
Follow the bloodlines.
Oh well, I mean, I do. She's gonna reach out and pet like the air by her chair.
Right.
I do. Happen to I sometimes am able to talk to ancient trees.
Well, that certainly is speaking well towards your elven heritage. I too have talked to ancient trees, though in days when they were not yet called ancient.
Oh well, yeah. You do have a couple years on me. But I
Few
also
know my true age.
what?
Few know my true age.
Did you not just say you're 5,000 years old?
I did. And that is something I'm telling you now, is that few know.
Yes.
You are of my kin. Direct or otherwise. When there are so few of us in this world, it does not matter. Would be that we were across the seas where our numbers dwindle and our numbers swell, sorry, and that there were cities wide with us still. But no, we live in times where there are few, and most of my kin have fallen, or faded, or traveled to the east.
It does sound very wonderful. Though I do think the scarcity of elves here would probably make it easier to find my my family.
Indeed, though if you have woodland heritage, that is from across the mountains, and their numbers are a little less scarce. Though it is hard to pin them down, for they wander and are nomadic, and dwell ever in secrecy.
Does make it a bit more difficult. I do also, and she's gonna full on be petting the air by her seat. I also have a tendency to see well, creatures other people say aren't there, but I don't. I mean,
Of okay.
I don't really know what
Before
No, it's not
What?
just the fact that it's
I mean,
it is itself not generally a positive omen towards things, but it is also often misunderstandings.
Okay. I'm just, I'm not really sure what kind of magic you're looking for here. Other than, what I've been taught, by my order.
Elendor would know.
I don't think I have any innate, since childhood, really, things. I don't think.
But you ask, of course I know. You want to know your heritage. You want to know where you come from. Such as natural. My lineage, I can trace it back to the dawning days. From when my people first came to this world. And thus I am honored in that. That collective memory is important to me. It is part of my identity, and I know what it is like for parts of your identity to be held at bay. I will do whatever I can and provide whatever knowledge I can to assist you. Though I warn, I am at a loss for now. And that covers part of it. But the other part is culture, cultural identity.
Mm-hmm.
You are of one of my kin, and I would have you know that. I imagine that the priests of Pelor are not particularly adept at teaching elven customs.
Well, we did cover various cultures and in our studies and things like that. But they probably.
It is one thing to read the Sylvan poems and discuss the grammatic structure. It is another to sing them beneath the boughs of an elven tree.
I have been struggling with that a bit. I don't really entirely know Sylvan. Bit of an issue talking to the trees.
And your group, they travel from White Sinks at the moment?
Yeah, that is where we started our journey all together. And
I will dwell on our conversation tonight, and I will call for you tomorrow or the day after. I will think about it, and I will think on those I know in this world and what contacts and what paths might be explored.
Thank you very much. I
well
really...
met. Your name, forgive me.
Well, my name's Riona.
Riona.
That's it really. Is Riona.
It is customary for elves to have but one name.
Oh.
Any other names are titles, descriptions.
I suppose
In our land, of course, elves otherwise have adapted other customs or held to customs of other things, but you are within your own people and having one name.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You are within your own people and having only one name.
Well, that is more than I knew.
This whole conversation has been in Elvish.
Yes. That is more than I knew before. I just thought I didn't know it.
But yes, my name is DeFerro. That is my given name. There are many other names for me, but that is my given name.
Okay.
But, of course, that is not to say that you don't necessarily have another name. Many half-elves have other names. The Heathermoors. They draw their name, of course, from the human half.
Right. Well, if I remember correctly, and the human half is my father, I could see that possibly, affecting that.
Well, and such traditions do not follow the same way in elves. We have our own traditions. Some as backwater and backward as humans, no doubt, but others are a little more relaxed. The Heathermoors, their father is the elf. Both cases. Their mothers are different, but the name comes from the first. For the father took the name, but the mother were married.
Oh. It's very interesting.
Peculiar case.
Mm-hmm.
But fine children. I have much to think about it, and I know this is no doubt emotional for you as well, so perhaps this would be best called for the night and slept upon.
Yes, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much for your help.
And he kind of when you turn to go, he kind of catches the guard by the arm and says, "She is of elven blood. This was not communicated properly. Make sure that it is disseminated. She is free to the garrison, as it is her birthright."
I think the funniest thing about that is our screen immediately just switched to Reid after we finished talking.
I can go wherever I want.
I'm doing a fine job of that myself.
What is this nonsense?
In some needed exposition, he will turn to you as you go.
My
The elves claimed this place when it was fallen. It was our shield, our bastion, our last refuge in this world. Many of our people fell beyond these walls. Our blood is what held them. The valley beyond remains green because we protected it from the burning hordes. No matter what kingdoms may fly their banners from this place, it is always in elven hands. Until the day that I die. Anything that you would have here, in any place that you would go, and anything that you would lay claim to, it is yours. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Pleasant evening to you.
Claim him as your spouse now.
Definitive shift in the guard's behavior towards you. Because before it was definitely like he was watching you. Like you were his charge in terms of a surveillance almost perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Now it is he is your escort. Doors are held. Respect is given.
Is this Dale or is this a different one?
This is not Dale.
Okay.
Fucking Dale doesn't get high class jobs like this. Fuck Dale.
But as you all retire for the evening, I think that I don't know that we'll. We could start some other stuff, but if anybody has anything they'd like to do, like the next day, that's minor, perhaps.
Elrich would pick up the card game over the course of waiting.
I mean, Riona doesn't have anything she wants
I think
to do, but Bronwyn
already
would
familiar with the card game would teach.
After returning from her bath, Seris would write a few things down in a journal. You would probably have seen her do this a few times through at like the course of your travels, but she seems a little more fervent in her writing this time.
Morgan would pull Elrich aside. Elrich,
Yes.
I had a fun little idea the other night. I was wondering if you wanted to get in on it.
I temper my sense of safety, but sure. What's up?
How would you like to make a new spell with me?
I'm very interested, but I don't know how much help I'll be, especially in your realm of casting. But I'm there. Yeah.
Well, that's what makes this fun. Let's go find a courtyard and pray to God. Not literally, we're going to be experimenting. I have paper.
All right. Yeah.
And I will start work on making a new cleric spell.
I'll aid in whatever way I can. I don't really know much about these gods, but
It is more difficult to make new cleric spells than other types of spells. But you are certainly an Arcana cleric, and if there is anyone who will be able to accomplish this task, it is you.
Yep.
But it is a Rome is not built in a day sort of scenario.
Yep, I just wanted to get started on it.
Anybody else have anything?
No.
While I assist, I'm gonna be fully wholeheartedly assisting. Elrich's gonna try to figure out ways he can cast the spell as well, for as much as he can dip his toe in.
Noted.
Good. I approve of it. Morgan's probably aware, and he's happy to have you. So, fuck it. Yeah.
And Morgan, you would definitely, as an Arcana cleric, you have a little bit of a different perspective on how divine magic works, but you aren't a wizard.
No.
Your magic isn't mechanical.
No, partly pulling Elric aside was I want to see what he can do.
Yeah.
That was part of it.
So it is interesting to see the perspective by which Elric approaches magic, because it is not the approach that you do. Often in a kind of just a wider sense, a more general sense, you are a channel by which the magic flows. Whereas Elric doesn't seem to be a channel in how he is going about figuring it out. It is a just different philosophy. And you don't know how he came to that point or how he's really able to cast through that point, but it's all very odd. Because wizards, even in your parts, are uncommon.
Yeah, I only knew the one. Well, yeah, the one. So, Elric, you would have done well at the Basilica.
I am not. Thank you. I don't. To be honest, you've mentioned a few times. I'm not quite sure what it is.
It is It's where I trained. It's complicated to explain. A long time ago, I lived on. Well, okay. Preface. I lived in an inland sea called Gatan. And that sea was formed many, many millennia ago by a wizard at the behest of Ayun. We don't know why. We don't even know how. But on one of the sandstone ridges, because there's several cities on the shores of Gatan, there's a place called the Basilica. And it is where the remains of this wizard are housed. And in honoring his tradition, it is a place of learning, both of the arcane, the mundane, and, in my case, the divine. You would have done well. Inquisitive mind.
I hope to one day visit it. Despite my previous travels, I would like to see more.
Well, I'd offer you a letter of recommendation, but I'm not really welcome back.
Whose
Not
Curious.
research lab did you burn down?
As in, they won't have you back, or you won't return.
Go back?
Hmm?
Combination. It's a matter of integrity.
I understand that. There are people I'd like to see again, but it'll be a while before I want to go home. If ever. It wasn't as grand as what we've passed by so far, and I know it's mostly just been farmland, but it's
No, there's an element of freeing. There's a freeing element to going your own way. Would you Oh, I don't have that. Never mind. I was going to perform ceremony for you, but Never mind.
Give me a night's rest, and I can get that for you.
You gotta have like a ceremony requires it to be part of a ceremony though. Like
Yeah.
Elrich,
Yeah. That's another
Elrich is not having his coming of age ceremony.
You don't just like a ceremony should not be used lightly. Like they should be used, and you should definitely look for opportunities to use them. But
that's third level.
Cool.
That's
So we
weird.
want to get married.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or you're burying someone.
I've got warding bond. That's the same thing, right? But no,
Basically.
there's the freeing element to it.
Raknul.
And what's Raknul up to?
Oh.
What?
Nope.
Suddenly Raknul.
What?
Jimmy, what were you saying?
What?
Oh, I thought you asked.
Oh,
me.
he said who wants to get. I said Samuel's free this week. No, I said Samuel's free this week.
Okay.
What's Raknul up to?
Well, I was gonna say Raknul.
Yeah.
Why are you going about your own business? Leaving the room to get food, going back to the room after having food, leaving the room to get food again, going back to the room after having food. You spot and work.
What?
Ooh.
And for a moment, you think you recognize him.
Uh-oh.
But it's at great distance. He's
And all
standing
orcs
far
do-
down the causeway, and in a moment, he's gone through a door. But it was someone very close to you. And I think without anybody else having anything specific that they want to do today, that is where we will call tonight's session. Just a little bit early so that we can fit the major story beats all in one game next week.
Yeah.
That's all right with everybody.
It's time to start investing in people, Raknul.
Oh, and by next week, you mean 2 weeks from now, right, Chris?
Oh boy, wait till you hear that story, Ian.
Is next week the Battle Royale already?
I think so. That was.
I think we
said-
last week we said
We said 2 weeks.
I thought it was 2
Oh.
weeks from now.
For some reason, I thought it was the last week of February.
That's what I thought.
yeah, we can do that.
We could move it. as
2
the-
weeks.
Yeah,
It's not like it's,
I'm sure the
I
viewer,
thought it was next
viewer
week.
at
Maybe
home
it's 2
will not be too upset that we moved it back a week.
Oh, well, hold on. Let's finish the episode first.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's
We will be absent, viewer at home. Or not absent. We will still be here.
Yeah.
But our characters will be taking a breather as we all go into some shitty mess of a battle royale. Love you, Jimmy. Which is based on D&D Wiki.
And all the awful things it spawns.
D&D wiki, races, backgrounds,
If
and
you are a new player for Dungeons and Dragons, joining a campaign for the first time, especially Adventures League, I encourage you to build your character using D&D Wiki. They will love you, and nothing will be wrong, and nobody will judge you. You only know your DM when you say, "I'd like to use Magic Laser Beam," and they're like, "Wait, Magic Laser Beam?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's a homebrew spell that was on D&D Wiki, but that's legal, right?"
Don't worry, it's perfect.
You can also-
it's perfect.
It's first level, and it does 10 damage.
I was gonna have it written down. Let me just search for it real quick.
you know what? It does 10d10 damage, and there's no saves.
Yeah, it's just a cantrip.
And also, you can select from wonderful backgrounds such as Bounty Hunter, Courtesan, Actual Mailbox.
Mailman.
Oh, I guess I should ask about if it's okay to use the background that I chose for something.
It is.
Is it from the D&D Wiki? Because if it is, we encourage it.
We digress. We digress because we will be doing that, and we're going to go ahead and say February the 24th, the last week of February. We're going to start trying to throw in some different games here and there, one shots and yada yada yada, like we used to. Now that the campaign is underway a little way, but thank everybody for joining in tonight. Let's go ahead and roll our d20s in chat while I'm talking. I think to see who will do the recap for next week.
Ooh.
Easy week or hard week, depending on your perspective. I feel like this was a week to easily recap.
Ooh.
You know,
and
if they were
hard to
gonna do
recap
it.
well.
Yeah. It's a good
Everybody's
It's
rolling
an easy
one.
Considering I had half the
God damn it.
conversation.
Yeah.
That one.
Oh, good.
That's the natural one. Jimmy will be doing that recap next week.
I pulled Jimmy off to the side.
But
So
thank you all for tuning in. Very, very much for tuning in. Like I think.
Comment, subscribe, hit the bell
yeah.
icon.
Follow. Tune in live. Ask your question during the break.
Swipe right.
Don't let people change you. Be who you are.
Which we didn't
Here you are. Never
Sacrifice
be
a
by
chihuahua.
Morgan.
Missed you.
What?
I think that's everything. So, but most importantly, tune in next week. See you guys.